you, all of you, for being here. My name is Addison Mata, and I am joined by Veronica Mangio, and we are from Wildlife Forever. And we're going to talk a little bit about how in our programming we use art and science to teach conservation. So just a quick overview of who we are as an organization. So we are a small conservation nonprofit. We're based in White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and our mission is to conserve America's outdoor heritage through conservation education, preservation of habitat, and the scientific management of fish and wildlife. So 96% of all our donations go directly to our mission, and we have been running since 1987 to fund conservation projects in all 50 states and Canada, with thousands and thousands of projects throughout North America. So today we are specifically going to be talking about our Art of Conservation program, and even more specifically our fish art contest. But before we delve into that and how we marry the concepts of science and art and conservation together, I'd like to give you just a brief overview of some of the other programs that we work on here. So Clean Drain Dry initiative is one of our biggest programs. We are trying to lead the fight against invasive species. So Clean Drain Dry is a messaging campaign working to prevent aquatic invasive species through tools for boaters and anglers. We've worked with boat accesses across the country to provide access enhancement by installing cleaning stations, signage, information about invasive species. So what we're really trying to do is encouraging boaters and anglers to clean their boats, their trailers, and their gear, drain all of the water out, and dry everything before moving a watercraft from one body of water to another, in order to help prevent the spread of invasive species, which has become a big problem. Another one of our main programs is Prairie City USA. So Prairie City USA is a newer program, and it is a certification program for cities. So we are working with communities to enhance and restore commercial, residential, and industrial green spaces into native prairie and pollinator habitat. We do that by helping cities adopt a Prairie City USA resolution and then work with them to develop a plan to convert 10% of their mowed green space into native prairie over the long term. And this has financial benefits, environmental benefits, of course, and then benefits to the community as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Veronica to talk a little bit more about how art and science is able to teach conservation.
Great, thanks, Addie. So let's dive in with some examples. So I believe all of you are very familiar with Charles Darwin. He is known for his evolutionary biography, his contributions to that aspect of science. However, we can also consider him as an artist. As he was learning about the natural world, he took the time to illustrate his findings. So as he was navigating the new discoveries of the natural world, he translated them into illustration. So not only he could better understand what he was finding, but so also other people can understand and learn what he was discovering. Another example that may not be well known is Ernst Haeckel. He was a German zoologist, naturalist, professor, marine biologist, and an artist. So he discovered and described a lot of new species in biology. And here are examples that of the sea creatures he found underwater as he was learning about it. So he took these findings and made beautiful illustrations that actually influenced an art movement. So again, he was a scientist, but he was also an artist, and that art aspect really pulls in your curiosity and wonder and really highlights the beauty of our natural world. So we can understand science and art as science is the curiosity and knowledge of our natural world, while art kind of focuses on understanding it and deepening our connection to the natural world and to recreate the beauty of it. And that's what we kind of want to focus on in our Art of Conservation program. We would like to connect students to nature through art and science. So science is considered the knowledge of our natural world, and art deepens our connection to the natural world. So the entanglement of these disciplines deepens our connection to nature and helps us create these social and emotional constructs that promote conservational behaviors. So some of these social and emotional constructs can include the connectedness to nature, I feel connected to the natural world. Environmental identity. I am a nature person. I am an animal person. Emotional affinity toward nature. I love nature and I love how I feel when I'm in it. Environmental self-efficacy. I can protect nature. I have the responsibility to protect what I love. And nature relatedness. I play a role in this ecosystem. I have the responsibility. So we're trying to deepen our connection towards nature in this program because if you don't care about it, if you don't understand it, you will not try to protect it. Also, art as a medium has been in history in America to conserve. So an example here is the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. So as they're trying to protect and create national parks, a lot of people don't have access to these parks. So people, on the East Coast, they couldn't have transportation or the funding maybe to go see the parks themselves. So art really made it accessible for everybody to see the beauty of it, to really like understand the depth of our natural environment here in the States and get people to engage and want to care and protect it. So art really stirs strong emotions and makes us spur into action. So here for Art of Conservation, we really like to utilize science and art to develop a sense of responsibility to conserve our natural world. And we will dive deeper now into what our Art of Conservation program includes.
So hopefully we've piqued your interest about the program. So the Art of Conservation brand encompasses two separate programs. So we have the Fish Art Contest, which we're going to focus on today, and then the Songbird Art Contest as well. And since we're going to be talking a little bit less about the Songbird art, I thought it would be cool to share our top 12 winners from last year's contest. And if you notice down in the bottom right corner, our third place winner in the 10th through 12th grade category is from Minnesota, which is kind of cool to see. So both of our programs use art, science, and creative writing to connect children with nature. And something that we're particularly focused on is connecting children to nature when they may not have access to the natural world through other means. So whether that's limitations on mobility or financial limitations, limitations because of where students are living, maybe they have a lack of green space. The cool thing about art is that it can transcend all of those barriers and still help students feel connected to nature, to creatures like songbirds and fish. And here are just a couple of cool examples of some of the songbird art that we've gotten, again, because we're going to be focusing a little bit less on this. But I did want to share just how brilliant and how wonderful these pieces are as well. So how do these programs work? So the program is completely free to enter. It is open to youth in kindergarten through 12th grade. So for the Songbird Art Contest, students may choose any one of 5 given bird species that we release each year. And for the Fish Art Contest, they can choose any wild fish species on which to base a piece of art and 1 page of creative writing. The Fish Art Contest runs every year from September 1st to February 28th, so we're about a month out from this year's contest ending, which is pretty exciting. And then the Songbird Art Contest runs every year from May 1st to November 30th. And we are so lucky we have such a wonderful fleet of sponsors who are able to help us in supporting this program. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out, particularly Bass Pro Shops, who are our title sponsor. And all of these organizations really are able to make this program possible for us. So how does it work? Students will create and submit their original artwork and their creative writing by the deadline. And then we award first, second, and third place winners in each state in 4 different age categories. So students are competing in kindergarten through 3rd grade, 4th through 6th grade, 7th through 9th grade, and 10th through 12th grade. All of our first place state winners are then going to move on to compete for national awards and prizes. Judging is done virtually every year, and we have a huge team of artists, scientists, conservationists, teachers. So that is always really cool to see and get to bring together such a wide variety of experience to be on our judging team. So our goals with the program are threefold. Number one, we want to educate. So we want to educate youth about fish, their habitats, and how youth are able to make a difference. We want to integrate science, art, and writing to develop deeper connections to conservations. and we want to create cross-curricular opportunities for educators. So this is a program that can be done at home with families. If you just have one child or one student at home with you, it can be done with Boy or Girl Scout programs. It can be done with homeschool co-ops. But we really see this program thrive in classrooms. And we really want to make it as cross-curricular as possible so that it works for teachers not only in an art classroom, but also in a science classroom or in an English classroom. We really want the program to be extremely moldable and able to fit teachers' diverse needs. So one of the ways that we run the program is through our network of state hosts. So similar to programs like Project WET, Project WILD that also run on this model, we have several states where there are organizations who essentially represent the program within their state. So here in Minnesota, we have the Minnesota Conservation Volunteer, which is the magazine of the DNR, and they run the Minnesota Fish Art Contest. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about their involvement in just a minute. But the responsibilities of state hosts are, first of all, to promote the contest. So connecting with K through 12 youth, educators, and their families to spread the word. And that's really the biggest function of our state hosts. And we found that throughout the country, when we have a state host in a particular state, it really helps boost numbers and boost participation because they have access to those networks of educators and students that we may not have access to. So that's essentially why we run the program this way. They're also responsible for receiving and cataloging all of the entries by grade category. And then all of our state hosts get to judge the first, second, and third place entries in their state. All of our states that don't have state hosts will come here to Wildlife Forever, and then we will facilitate all of that judging. So as I mentioned, the Minnesota Conservation Volunteer is our Minnesota state host. So they joined in 2021, and the fish art contest was really just a natural fit for some of their other youth conservation education opportunities that they offer. So beyond the fish art contest, they also offer a young naturalist series. So with all of their Minnesota Conservation Volunteer editions, there are extensions online for teachers and students to help them further dive into the material, learn more about the major topics that were talked about that month. And then in addition to that, copies of the Minnesota Conservation Volunteer are sent free to every public school. So this is something that is very accessible to students and really is able to help connect them to our natural resources here in Minnesota. So in 2022, which was the first year that we had Minnesota Conservation Volunteer come on as state host, we had 86 student participants. Last year, we were able to over double that number to 196 student participants. And this year in 2024, we have a month left. We are hoping to garner over 300 student participants. So the ways that you can help with this goal is by spreading the word. I know that we have I think a third grade class here with us, so I would encourage all of you to look into this program to submit entries as well. Tell your friends because we really want to spread the participation for Minnesota this year. So the ways that we are trying to reach that goal is by promoting to schools, education nonprofits, state agencies, and the public through social media and through the Minnesota Conservation Volunteer magazine. So if you're at a school that receives this magazine, you will have seen the last call for the Minnesota Fish Art Contest. Really awesome photos of 2 of the winning entries from last year and encouragement to participate again this year. So I'm going to turn it back over to Veronica to talk about our impact through the program.
Great. So we'll take a look at some submissions we have received. So here we have a variety. I'd like to focus on 2 on this slide. So both of them are from California. So that one top left corner to the right of the one on the far left. So you can see in the background, there is actually a wildfire happening. So the art portrays that the fish are trying to escape from this wildfire. So as a student is creating this artwork, they can reflect on the natural disasters that's happening in California, which is the wildfires. So it was pretty awesome to see that students were reflecting on some of the challenges that's happening with climate change. And then the one kitty corner on the bottom right of it, also from California, we can see some pollution. again, this is another challenge that we face um, to try to protect our environment is pollution. So these two examples really portray how students are, understanding how the world is changing, some of the challenges we face into art. And another key portion of submitting your art is to write an essay. And this essay becomes really important because it acts as a reflective portion to your artwork. So it allows students to not only create a beautiful piece of work, but also an opportunity to reflect and really understand what they're learning. So I'll go ahead and read along one of our students from Massachusetts. So point of view is a fish. So let's listen along. Point of view, I'm a fish. Stoneflies are my dish. Grasshoppers are good to chew, but crayfish are cool too. Lodging in West USA, my habitat is speckled with clay. Our rivers teem with invaders. They're trying to be dictators. These trout aren't the OG. They're trying to claim our territory. These fools with their rainbow suits, stealing our grub instead of loot. With limited nourishment, our banishment may be permanent. Yet things are getting better on the bed of the river, because conservation is now restoring our population to its former glory. I used to be endangered, but now I'm only threatened. Though it was one hard, though it was once hard to survive, I still strive to stay alive. So someday I'm of least concern, and you'll have bigger fish to fry. So it's really cool in this essay. They more so kind of like rhythm and rhyme in this poetry. So they're reflecting on, trouts and their being endangered in the recovery of conservation efforts. And then the story on the right, an individual took another point of view as a fish, and specifically it was a white marlin, and he talks about how the white marlin is being overfished. So again, these pieces provide a reflective piece of understanding of the challenges that we face. Then we have other examples here. So the one on the left, the individual reflected on how salmon has great impact in the ecosystem. So bears greatly rely on salmon to retrieve their nourishment, especially when they're getting ready to hibernate. And then on the right here, somebody interpreted the essay as a comic. So several years ago, some of you may be familiar, but we had a challenge with mossballs because there was invasive species that hung onto it. And then once they grew, they didn't see it when they first bought it from the store, but as it grew, people start to see it and they're like, oh my God, what is this? And they decided just to throw it out. So you can see how that affects. So it starts out by throwing away the mossballs, and then you see the zebra mussels. Okay, they're starting to take over, and then now they're polluting the waters. And this trout here is like, well, I can't live here anymore. This is the problems of invasive species is they take over the native, like the animals and the organisms. So now the trout is left to wonder where he's gonna go. So again, the essay pieces to the art submissions is a really important part to students to really reflect and learn what they are creating. And then we can start looking at the numbers of our program. So since 1999, we've had over 70,000 entries, which is amazing. And in the past, in 2023, we had just about 4,500 entries, and we had 44 countries participating. Participating states in the country of USA, and then 44 countries across the world globally. So you can kind of get a glimpse here of the participants that come from around the world. So it's great to notice that art is a tool where you don't necessarily need to speak a certain language to engage with learning. So a lot of these countries aren't, natively English speaking, so they can engage and still learn just by creating art. And over time, since 2013, we've seen a 33% growth, and that's specifically from 2021. We've reached, just from our website, over 150K. And through social media, we've engaged our audience for over 7 million. And through our press releases, we've engaged with over 14 million individuals.
So, along with the general submissions from the art contest. We also have several specialty art contest divisions that I would love to share as well. So these specialty divisions are made possible by our sponsors, and they allow students and educators to focus on a specific species or topic with more resources to learn from. These are judged separately from the contest, and they're given special awards. So students can submit one piece for the general contest and then for a specialty award as well. But this is just kind of a cool way for them to delve into something a little bit more specific. So the first example that I'd like to share is the Guy Harvey Foundation Shark Award. So the Guy Harvey Foundation is one of our partners. They are based in Florida and they do a lot with ocean conservation. So we thought it would be really cool to partner on a shark award because sharks are awesome. Sharks are really cool. And unfortunately, sharks are a species that have been demonized in the media. A lot of people are scared of sharks, and unfortunately, shark populations are declining, and they're a very essential species to ocean ecosystems. So this award brings some light to the plight of sharks right now and allows students to engage in this issue a little bit more deeply. Another really cool award that we have is the International Gamefish Association Conservation Award. And this year we chose to do a debris division. So the International Gamefish Association conducts a lot of beach cleanups where they find tons and tons and tons of plastic that has been unfortunately discarded into the ocean and ends up washing up on our beaches. So they're able to collect all of this plastic, they sort it by color, they clean it, and then they're actually repurposing it so that students are able to make art out of it. So this started as their plastic portraits program, and it's kind of spun off into the debris division. And we were actually just at the Discover Boating Minneapolis Boat Show last weekend piloting a program. So they sent us some of the plastic that they've recovered from their beach cleanups, and we had students make their own fish art out of this plastic. So this was a really cool way to engage with the community and get people started on thinking about how plastic affects our ecosystems. And as we know, this is not just an ocean problem. Minnesota has well over 10,000 lakes. And unfortunately, plastic is a huge problem in our lakes as well. So we're hoping to further this program to help students come up with ideas on ways that their community can lower their plastic use and engage in community cleanups as well. We also offer a couple of other specialty awards. So through the Clean Drain Dry program, which I talked about earlier, we offer the Invader Crusader Award. So this is given every year to a student who depicts an invasive species. And this past year, the winner was the silver carp piece. We also work with the Western Native Trout Initiative and give out a Western Native Trout Award, which is exactly as it sounds. It is a piece featuring a Western Native trout. And then we also have a Fish Habitat Writing Award working with the National Fish Habitat Partnership. So this award is given to a student whose essay best answers, why do you think it is important to protect our lakes, rivers, estuaries, and coastlines? So beyond just the general contest, lots of opportunities for students to win these specialty awards as well and engage a little bit more deeply with a specific topic. So we also have some additional resources for educators and for the public. So first is our Fish On curriculum, which we are currently in the middle of a redesign of. So our previous Fish On curriculum is outdated. It's not relevant to our audiences anymore. So we're really excited in the next few weeks to be rolling out our first set of lesson plans in the newly designed Fish On curriculum. So topics that we're going to cover in this first rollout are what is a fish, fish in my state, fish adaptations, food webs, freshwater habitats, and saltwater habitats. So with this redesign project, our goals are to expand all of the activity options, align with the next generation science standards, increase our relevance to our audiences, and better utilize our partner resources. So I also have a roadmap here of what we kind of want this curriculum project to look like as it goes on. So our first rollout is going to be this month. We're going to release our first set of lessons, and we're hoping to roll out a second set in June 2024. So after this first rollout, we're hoping to collect some feedback, work with our partners to choose new topics, and then develop and release a second set of lessons. And then further down the road, hopefully this fall, we are hoping to implement an Art of Conservation certification program for educators. So educators will be able to take a short online course that'll help them visualize how to use the Art of Conservation programs effectively in their classrooms, different ways that they can change the program to fit their classroom needs, and then gain that Art of Conservation certification. And then as we go on, we would like to continue to grow with periodic rollouts of new lesson plans as new topics of importance come up. Another opportunity that we have for educators is the Richard M. Hart Educator of the Year Award. So this was created to honor the conservation legacy of Richard M. Hart, who founded the Hart Morris Education Center in Athens, Texas, at the Texas Freshwater Fisheries Center. Every year, educators are invited to nominate themselves or nominate someone else for this award. And we select an educator each year who uses the Art of Conservation program in their classroom to award them with a package of classroom art supplies, learn to fish kits, and a limited edition print. And we're very grateful to the Texas Freshwater Fisheries Center and the Grand Hollingsworth Trust for helping us fund this award. And this gal right here is a really, really special educator that we got to honor 2 years ago. Her name is Sarah Wilder, and she's an educator in Missouri. And what was so cool about getting to honor her is that she actually participated in the fish art contest when she was a student. So the contest started in 1999. We're actually on our 26th year of running the fish art program. So she participated as a high schooler, went and got her teaching degree, and now is in her own classroom where she continues to utilize the program. So it was really cool to get to see the program coming full circle and how clearly it had an impact on her to the point that she's able to pass it on to the next generation of fish artists. So you may be wondering how you're able to support the program. So there are a couple of different ways that you can help. Number one is becoming a Wildlife Forever member. Your support helps us fund programs and protect America's wildlife. And you can also join the Art of Conservation volunteer base. So common needs that we have are essay readers, helping us go through all of the essays, judge them, sort them, and award prizes, helping us distribute press, and assistance with events like the Minneapolis Boat Show. We're hoping to bring that program to other events as well. So if you're ever interested in volunteering or being part of the table, please email info@wildlifeforever.org for more information. And we would be really happy to answer any questions or to bring you on board as a volunteer. And that is all we have. Thank you so much for your time today. So our website is www.fishart.org, and that has all the instructions on how to enter the fish art contest, how everything works. I also have my email and phone number there if you want to contact me with any questions. And then yeah, if the audience has any questions, we'd love to answer those as well.
Eddie and Veronica, thank you. That was a great job. I was just entering your email address in the chat there, Eddie. So everybody has that. It was a great presentation. I really appreciate, as a former art education major and art teacher for a few years, and then moving on to doing outdoor education and environmental ed stuff. I really appreciate, what you guys are doing and the connection that these students and teachers can get from, not necessarily having some of this stuff in their environment, but doing art projects around it and how they can grow appreciation that way too, I think is super cool and super important. So thank you for everything you guys do. A couple questions. We don't have too many. If anybody does have some questions, please put them in the Q&A and we will get to those. Emily's wondering, do they also run the songbird contest? I'm assuming she's talking about Wildlife Forever.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if she's maybe referring to the state hosts. And because the Songbird Art Contest is so new, we've only been running that for 3 years. Everything is managed here at Wildlife Forever headquarters. I think in the future, we would really like to branch that out and have that managed by state hosts as well. But as for the time being, no, we just have the state program or the state host program for the fish art contest.
Okay. So the bird one that is actually run through you guys, which
Yes.
is great. I was just reading my magazine this morning. I was waiting for everybody to join. So
Awesome.
this great article in there.
Yeah.
Emily also asked, in regard to the comic essay, has anyone submitted something like this as their art entry?
We have not had any comics submitted as the art entry. We do actually have a rule that there shouldn't be any writing on the art itself. Unless it's something like the name of a boat or something on a sign, we want to limit the writing on the artwork itself. So while that was a really cool and creative idea for the essay portion, we would steer people away from doing that as their art submission.
Cool. Our favorite listener, Jeff, has a question for youth that may be watching. What type of jobs or careers exist for a student interested in nature art?
Yeah, well, what I do is a great example. So I am the education and communications manager at Wildlife Forever. So really any type of environmental education job, I think would definitely have the room for that creativity and to bring art into your career as well. I've also worked at, nature centers and environmental learning centers in the past, and there have always been opportunities to get to tie art into nature. So I think that would be really cool. Also becoming a science teacher or an art teacher. Both of those have a lot of opportunities to tie in conservation and art. And beyond just a career, there are so many opportunities for adults and young adults as well in the field of art and conservation. So a great example is like the federal duck stamp contest that runs every year, and that's for adult artists. And you don't necessarily have to have a career in art to get to participate with that. And I think Veronica may have some good ideas on this as well. She does sustainable design and is really able to connect a lot of those ideas too.
Yeah, another pathway is through design and creativity, because as Addie said, I'm getting my master's right now in sustainable design. So there's a lot of different initiatives that you could go towards that intersect art and science and the love for nature.
That's awesome. Everybody follows these interesting career paths into some of these careers, and it's really cool how they intertwine. So, Jeff asked another question. What a great program, and we are fortunate to have this program in our backyard. How did Wildlife Forever end up in Minnesota?
Yeah, so Wildlife Forever was initially founded by the American Sportsmen's Foundation. So originally, this was created by a group of hunters and anglers, and it kind of spiraled off into its own conservation nonprofit. And we've been around, I want to say, for 36 or 37 years now. So it's kind of been a long process of evolution to get us to where we are today. But I think a big factor of why we're based in Minnesota is because of the hunting and angling community here. Both of those things are so strong, and that's really how states are able to get their conservation dollars. And Minnesotans love the outdoors. They love conservation. Everyone that I talk to is very invested in protecting the amazing natural resources that this state has. So Minnesota is really a natural fit for an organization like us.
It goes back a long ways in Minnesota, our love for nature and
Yes.
conservation for sure. So it's really cool being from a state that has, Wildlife Forever, Pheasants Forever started here, these large national programs doing awesome conservation work. So all the Leopold Foundation, which is right next door, but
Yeah.
we give them credit too. So Emily has a really great question here, and she's a youth services librarian. So um, how are there any hubs for teachers to collaborate and share how they teach this curriculum with each other? She's a youth services librarian and would love to bring it to the public library, but finding like-minded people who are also doing it may be or would be useful.
Yeah, that's a really great point. As of right now, we don't really have any way for teachers to independently connect with each other, other than just, through the resources on our website. But that is a great idea. And I think that would be really beneficial to educators to get to connect, speak about how this program has impacted their classrooms and different ways that they use it. So that's definitely something that we can take into consideration because I love that idea.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I know I've done a lot of trainings with both Project Wet and the Leopold Foundation and now R3 stuff, and just being able to see how other people are incorporating some of this stuff into, their careers or their lives or their students' lives is just it's fascinating. And we may be the think we're doing a really great job on passing this on to our kids, but somebody else, there's all these other really great ideas from all over the country that can come in and might spark something good that will work for your class. So
Absolutely.
you have to make that a resource on your website, like a teacher's portal.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great idea. And
Sign in.
that's something that we kind of want to accomplish as well with our eventual teacher certification program is kind of giving educators some different ideas on how they can modify the program because the way that we approach it is that we really want it to be very flexible because students have or teachers have such diverse student populations who need really different things and teachers have different needs in their classroom and different holes in their programming. So we really want this to be something that's super adaptable for a lot of different educators in different types of situations. Whether you're a formal educator, you're in a classroom, or you're maybe a non-formal educator, you're doing environmental education, you're at a nature center. We want this program to really transcend all of those things and be very accessible.
And tying art into it is so great too. I know we do a lot of fish printing,
Yeah,
and that's a lot of fun. Kids really get into it and enjoy doing that too. So making a huge mess, which is awesome. So
of course.
and Deb put a question there or a comment. Awesome program to learn about. Thank you so much for this presentation. So I don't see any other questions, any last minute questions. Please, feel free to enter those real quick. In the chat, I did put those links that you shared, Addie, and also Addie's email. So any of you teachers out there that want to maybe share ideas or connect can maybe reach out to Addie and Veronica, and they can help facilitate that or share your ideas with them to how to
Yes,
spread the program
absolutely.
and do whatever. So great. As you guys did a great job. And I think with that, we will say goodbye to everyone. Hopefully you will go out there and enjoy the somewhat warmer January thaw we have going on here and get outside and enjoy a little bit of our natural world. And hopefully we'll see everybody next week. We are doing episode 149 on wolves of Minnesota. So thank you, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you.